Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Empowerment Firm. Our second part, chapters 7 through 9. Um, and I am excited. And this is the book with Rachel Rogers. We should all be millionaires. So, hey, hey, Nicole. Hey, Wadiki. If either of you want to, from Fort Bragg, all right. If either of you want to be on the panel or just jump in and off, the first link that's in the chat, it has the link to the StreamYard. We're going to wait till a few more people get on. Excited for to get started on the rest of this. This has been a good week. I've been networking. I actually got to go. Most people know that in Austin, Texas, we have South by Southwest. It started this week, and there was with Inc. Magazine. They created an Inc. House that founders and entrepreneurs can go to and basically meet up. Network, listen to some talks. So yesterday, the author actually of the book that we're reading, Nicole Rogers, was at the Inc. House for Inc. Magazine, and her, along with a couple other women entrepreneurs, and they were venture capitalists as well, were able to speak, and I got some jewels from that jewels were dropped. It was really good information. So again, we're on this journey to be successful, on this journey to, grow together, create our businesses, empower the community, whatever interests that we have. Um, we can empower that, and like I say, speak truth to power when we have more economic power. So that's what we're doing. Um, we're going to wait a few more minutes and then we'll get started. Again, if you want to come on. So it's the first chat or comment in the chat, and you can use that link. I got my tea again. So today I am drinking, what is this? It is a peach ginger tea. And with me, I always add a little extra. So I get some honey, some crystallized vitamin C, and some lemon in there. So yes. All right. What time is it? We're going to give everybody about a minute and a half, and then we'll get started. How was y'all weekend? Talk to me. Oh, this hair. Oh, goodness. So tomorrow, I think I will go to another part of the Ink House networking is women, is specifically women. Hey, Nene. Hey, boo. That's my niece, everybody. um, the Ink House, they have a women specific entrepreneur kind of like meetup and chat. So I'm going to go to that tomorrow as well. That's what I want to tell you guys before we get into this. Start finding places that you can network with the people that you want to be in a room with. Whatever that looks like, because each of us have different occupations, different industries, whatever we want. But what that looks like, get the people that are doing it the way that you want to do it. If you are into makeup artistry or stylist work, who is the head in your industry that you can emulate or you love their style? Get in those groups. If you are in the medical field, whatever that is, get in those groups. That's where you should be at. So get in the room where people are making decisions or people are talking about how they're getting to the next level. So with that being said, I said I would be a minute and a half. So I'm going to get started. So with chapter 7, it got into a subject that I think is pertinent to all of us. So the chapter is called Million Dollar Value. And in this chapter, Rachel speaks on a situation that she, you know, went into business with somebody that actually, I believe it was a client of hers. And before she even went into business with this woman, she consulted, her people. And one of her friends, I guess, that knows more about what she was doing. And they told her, absolutely not. You should not go into this. It's not a good deal for you because you're going to be doing most of the work. But she said she did not take her advice. Oops. I am listening to my Miles Davis, and you probably hear it in the background. I'm looking like I do hear some music. Let me turn this down a little bit. I love me some good jazz music, so don't mind me. So with that, she was talking about from not listening to sound advice, and because of her imposter syndrome, thinking she could not do it herself. And that's what we're going to talk about most in this chapter, because that's what it's about, is imposter syndrome. Because of that, it cost her thousands of dollars, and whether it's court fees, whether it was the legal fees, revenue loss. It cost her thousands of dollars. So I'm going to read a little bit of this. Like I said, the backstory is she went into business despite, good counsel with her friend. And she said, in summary, because I did not believe that I was capable of writing, developing, and selling a product on my own, it cost me $150,000 in legal fees and at least $500,000 in lost revenue and thousands of hours in pain and sorrow and time away from my kids, a friend, and then some. So this person, she even thought if she would have listened to herself more, she might even been able to preserve a friendship because the friendship was good prior to this. So sometimes we just need to listen to good counsel before we get into it. The main thing, the meat of this was the imposter syndrome. This imposter syndrome, I think a lot of us have. Um, I know, and it doesn't have to be in every area. It could just be in certain areas, like she said. And this is a painful price of imposter syndrome. As women, you are probably paid a price daily. Imposter syndrome is one of the greatest challenges in women's wealth. To earn millions, you first have to stop believing that the world says you are. You should stop believing what the world says you are capable of as a Black woman, lesbian woman, disabled woman, fat woman, trans woman, loud woman, bossy woman, and filthy mouth woman. Whatever kind of woman you are, the media is sending you messages every day to convince you that you're not good enough. Do not believe that. So what is imposter syndrome? And why you probably have it, even if you think you don't, and how it blocks you from your wealth. The term was coined by two clinical psychologists, Pauline Clance and Dr. Suzanne Imes. I think that's how you pronounce her name. Imes. Back in 1978. Back then, she gives a little brief breakdown of the time period that it was in. And she was like, high achieve. Oh, let me just read the whole paragraph before I just start botching it. So back then, when Last Chance by Donna Summers was one of the hottest songs on the chart, and Diana Ross was serving legendary looks in her afro while appearing on The Wiz, Clance and Imes conducted a study of high achieving women. They found that an astonishing number of these women felt inadequate, inferior, and perceived themselves as phony or fraud, despite truckloads of evidence indicating the exact opposite. Like, how many of you guys can identify with that? So these two psychiatrists, they labeled the situation imposter syndrome. We probably hear a little bit more, well, a lot more about that today, as far as in today's times. Although not a mental illness per se, it often is accompanied by anxiety, stress, depression, and low self-esteem. And she gives examples of what some of this looks like in just regular people. So it could look like winning a prestigious award, but secretly believing it was just a fluke, or you probably didn't really deserve it. And something like this will definitely never happen again. Consistently delivering high quality work to your boss, receiving praise, or even merit-based bonuses, but quietly believing you don't really know what you're doing, or one day they'll find you out. I feel like, well, it states that, and there's a lot more examples of this, and I think this one is the one I identify with the most. It's like earning a bachelor's, a master's, a doctorate, plus a slew of additional certifications, certified life coach, certified project manager, certified dolphin trainer, just for good measure, and still feeling like you're not qualified enough to go after the dream job or charge the top dollar for your services. This cracks me up because this is so true. You see these women, and she goes on and she gives these some statistics about how men think in the same situation. Men can apply for where is it at? She said, drive home the point. I think this is the one I'm going for. To drive home the point. And depress you a little bit more. One study surveyed employees at a major tech company found that female employees would apply for a promotion only when believed they met 100% of the requirements listed on the job description. On the other hand, male employees would frequently apply when they met 60% of the requirements. I think that's hilarious because I see that in myself. If I go and to look for a job or figure out what I'm doing, even though I have a master's degree, even though I have all this, experience or skills, I would pick it apart and be like, I don't qualify, even if I like qualify for everything else, but this little small portion of the job description that I don't think I have, I want to apply for that. So I think I agree. I think for me, myself, I don't know, can't speak for everybody else. If anybody want to chime in and talk, whoever else is joining, like I said at the beginning, if you didn't hear or just getting back on or whatever, the link to StreamYard is the first comment in here. If you want to get on, you're more than welcome to get on. But it cracks me up because we need to do better. We need to value our contributions, value our education, value our skill set, value what we bring to the table, because we really bring a lot if we actually wrote it down. Yeah, Wadiki, like you don't see your worth sometimes, and that's not good. That's why I love this book. Not that I didn't recognize, because I'm usually very self-aware, but I try to figure out where it's coming from. Like, okay, I don't feel adequate in this area, but if I write it down on paper, I'm actually overqualified or well qualified to do what I'm looking at doing. So if I'm feeling that I'm not, where does that stem from? And she goes on to say the lack of confidence is costing you millions. How does imposter syndrome keep you broke? She said like this: one study shows that due to imposter syndrome, 55% of self-employed women automatically discount their prices before the client even asks them to lower it. So they're just doing it just because in their own head, they devalue their service or their product. And I've seen people do that. I don't know if anybody else has. I have seen people, they will have a product and a service, and they would discount it, or not even discount it after they had set a price point, you will give them if they're asking for advice, you'll give them your advice on how much this is, or get a price point, or market analysis, or whatever that is, a cost analysis. And they feel like, since, oh, maybe I don't have as much experience as this person, or I haven't been in it that long, or their look or whatever, it looks better than mine, they would discount it immediately before they even talk to the client and see what they are willing to pay for it. And not that you should set it on what they're willing to pay. I always believe there is a market for what you are selling and how much you're selling it for. I had when I lived in Atlanta, I remember this gentleman that I knew at the time. I mean, he still is, but he was less experienced, clearly, because that was over 10 years ago. And he was a photographer, and he was very set on his skill set. I don't know how much he charges now, but even back then, and I don't know how long he had been doing photography, but even back then, I remember his rate was $1,500 a day. That was it. If you can't pay, you just can't get his services. It was that or nothing. Either you're paying or not. And he was so locked into who he was and his worth that if you look on, I don't know if I want to say his name, but if you would look on his website, all he does is celebrity clients. All he does is like still shots from movies. That's all he does, because he set his price point at a certain point. He did not move off of it, and he gave the quality work that he know he was able to give. So I remember that, and he's a prime example of set the price, and if people want to pay for it, they will, and you will have a clientele for what you do, but you have to believe in your own ability and just leave it at that. Don't second guess yourself. Well, I could, or I'll give you a discount this time, but just sell them for one time. No, if the price is what it is, the price is what it is. That's my opinion. So she was going on when I was talking about 55% of self-employed women automatically discount their prices before a client even asks for a lower price. And she broke this down, the cost. If you charge $100 an hour, work 30 hours a week, and take a few weeks of vacation per year, you'd earn $150,000 per year. Okay, let's say you discounted your service just a little bit, like 15%. Not much, but it adds up. That's $22,500 per year you're waving away because you don't think you're good enough to earn more. That's private school tuition. That's a new car. That's a down payment on a house. That's 173 aromatherapy massages gone because you did not value yourself off rip. That's why we all need to do better. I'm going to go on. And there was a quote she said that the Telegraph calls Impostor Syndrome women's silent career killer. That's deep to me. And I would add, she said, women's silent money killer too. How to purge imposter syndrome. The first thing she says, acknowledge it. Acknowledge that you're not can I speak today? Acknowledge that you're not alone and your brain is not broken. You might feel broken right now, but you're not broken. You're in good company. Virtually every woman on the planet Earth either suffers or has suffered from imposter syndrome. Even me, even Michelle Obama, just read her autobiography. She talks about this. Even Maya Angelou, despite winning numerous literary awards, also thought her next book would be a failure. And even said so in an interview. You can feel these insecurities and refuse to let them stop you. And that's the thing. I think with a lot of things in life, it's just acknowledging that it's there. Because we're not always going to be at our tip top best. We're not always going to feel at our tip top best. We're not always going to act in our tip top best. It's just not going to happen. That's life. We're humans. But when we acknowledge when that comes up in any of those situations, but specifically since we're talking about imposter syndrome, like I said, if you feel it, you know that you're capable of it, capable of doing it, understand where that's coming from and identify it. And then she goes on and she said, get into the habit of tackling your victories as they happen and keep record or tracking your victories. And I think that's a good thing, because when you start tracking your victories and not your shortcomings, it boosts you up. It says keep track of your wins, big and small, instead of letting them zip by and unnoticed. I have a collage. I'm sorry, where am I at? I have a colleague who offers various writing related services, including helping people write a personal book proposal, find literary agents, and get publishing deals. She kept track of her clients and and meticulously follow up after to find out how they were doing. And this particular client, she was talking about with this particular colleague, she said because she tracked things carefully, she knows that after her hire, more than 90% of her clients go on to successfully secure a book deal. That's amazing. So again, sometimes we let those things that are important slip by and slip out of our hands, but those are the things that are going to boost us up and give us that extra oomph with what we need to go on. Get therapy. I think all of us need therapy. I think if you survived till you 21, you probably need therapy, maybe even younger than that to a certain extent. This is an interesting world that we are in. And there's a lot, I feel like I always say we were born into a lot of lies and propaganda, and we were just digging ourselves out of this thing. So, with that being said, the next thing she says, become an athlete. And she was like, I'm not kidding. So it said, did you know that 94% of women who hold C-level positions are former athletes? She said, I did not until today. And it makes sense. When you do something that's extremely challenging and go out of your comfort zone, like winning a regional soccer tournament or run a marathon, when you absolutely did not think that you could, this experience changes you on a cellular level. You start to wonder, well, if I could do that extremely challenging thing, then what else can I do? And I think this is good for, especially on this page, a lot of you ladies that are in the military or were in the military or still serving. You have done some extraordinary thing, even from boot camp. And then it just kept on going on after that. So there is absolutely nothing, when I say nothing you can't do, there's absolutely nothing you can do. I always go back to my accomplishments is just getting in the military. And I won't go into that, but the empowermentfirm.com, you can go and read my bio. How would your life change if you actually believed in yourself? How would you behave if you didn't have a gruesome case of imposter syndrome? How would you behave if you owned your worthiness and understood the immense value you bring to the table? You will behave very differently, and your bank account will look different too. So what makes you valuable? What you do currently offers, or what do you do currently, or what could you start offering that is extremely valuable? I think we talked about this before. A lot of us have this intellectual property. There's a lot of stuff that, well, Each and every person, absolutely no, because everybody is not skilled and built the same. Everybody has gone through different situations. We've come from different backgrounds. So some of us, all of us have a skill set or whatever that other people just may not have, or a viewpoint that can change a situation that other people just don't have because they just never been in that person's shoes. So this is what we call intellectual property, and that you can monetize. And it says, what's a skill set you've got that's so desirable, so helpful, so life changing that people would practically sprint across the room to open their wallets to hire you? What's the ability you've got that's going to make you millions? An ability that triggers people to say, take my money. This is your $1 million value. And if you don't know what it is, it's high time that you, would you say, Wadaki? We all, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. um, and if you don't know what this is, it's high time that you find out. What can you do that is extremely valuable? And she gets into there is something you can do that's extremely valuable. The $1 million question. Sorry, my phone just beeped. The $1 million question is, what is it? You might already know what it is, or you might have no idea. Many women are blindly unaware of their value. If you are really good at what you do, and I bet you are, then you are not just offering a hair. So I want to stop right there for a sec. She was basically breaking down different things. So if you are really good at whatever you do, whether it's cutting hair, whether it's styling somebody, whether it's, whatever your expertise is, you're not just giving that service. You're giving something so much more. So she was like, if you're really good at what you do, and I bet you are, you're not just offering a haircut or a dance lesson or social media services, you're changing someone's life. And you got to think about it as that, just as that. And that's worth a lot. So what can you offer that's extremely valuable? If you don't know, there are some ways that you can figure it out. And it says, recognize your natural talents. Your natural talents are extremely valuable. There is probably something that comes so naturally to you, it doesn't even feel like work or anything special. It might be gardening, cooking, writing, decluttering, organizing, styling bomb outfits, creating custom face cream, or confidently strutting across the stage and speaking in front of a crowd. So she gives you, in this book, it gives you some steps. So it's action steps. Write down 3 things you can do naturally and easily. Even if you think, well, nobody would ever pay me XYZ, ignore that voice in your head. You'll be surprised. People will pay you, and pay you well, to do all kinds of things, because what comes naturally to you does not come naturally to everybody. That is so true. Extra credit. She said, write down the 3, write down the last 3 compliments you received from friends, colleagues, clients, anyone. Do you routinely get praise for how incredibly neat you are? Dang. Natural talent alert. You might be the future CEO of $1 million home organizing empire. The next Marie, what is it? Kondo. Do friends thank you for being so supportive or encouraging? Their biggest cheerleader, bang. Bang the, can I read today? The money going. You might have exactly what it takes to run a 7-figure fitness studio and or a life coaching practice. And the next thing she goes into is audit your career. And make a list of your accomplishments. We've talked about that already. Whatever you do well, what have you got accolades for? Write those down. How is that marketable? Can you put that in a percentage like the lady did with the 90% of people that she secured book deals for? So another action step. Make a list of extremely valuable, helpful things you have done for your employer and or clients in the past, including any freebie work you've done. Challenge yourself to write down 50 specific ways you've made your company better, made your boss's life easier, or made clients oh so delighted. You saved your last employer tons of money. Write that down. You've improved a janky system and vastly increased productivity in your division. Put that down too. Lawsuits avoided, sales achieved, results your clients got thanks to you. Pull all that down. Read your list back to yourself. Look at all the value you've contributed to the world. Breathe that in, own it. Take a close look at your list. Do you notice any trends, any repetitive themes? For instance, are you consistently uplifting morale or fixing broken systems or finding just the right words to make the message sizzle off the screen? There's something you do, and you probably already do it regularly, that is immensely valuable, and you could be leveraging this skill to make a whole lot of money. I say this all the time. Let me read this real quick. And there is something you do not see for yourself. We have to learn to listen to our squad and people around. That's definitely, I shouldn't say always. I did for the past, I say, few years. I would talk to friends, family, and ask them, what do you think my strengths are? I literally just did that the other day with a friend that I was talking to see where she felt my strengths are. And when you ask people, there usually is a common theme in there. And take notice of that. Like sometimes your strengths are your blind spot. You don't see them as strengths, but when everybody else is saying something and it's like I said, it's a common stream. There's something there. There's definitely something there. Excuse me. She goes on to say, understand your zone of competence, zone zone of incompetence, zone of competence, zone of excellence, and zone of genius. And she goes on to say what that is. So your zone of incompetence, in this zone, you are engaging in tasks and work that you inherently do not understand or are not skilled at. It's typically pretty obvious to you and others that you are not good at this work. It's also inefficient for you to continue to do this kind of work because your lack of understanding or skill means that it takes much longer effort and time to complete this work, whereas somebody else could do it quickly and efficiently. I'm all about efficiency. Hold on for a sec. I am all about efficiency. So I feel like a lot of us, a lot of times, especially if we are starting something, we try to do it all ourselves. I'm trying to get out of that habit. Especially things I just despise doing. Like it's just going to take me a long time to do because I just don't want to do it. So that is so unproductive and inefficient. The next zone, the zone of competence, is this. In this zone, you are doing work that you can do. I'm sorry, I thought I heard some. Okay, in this zone, you are doing work that you can do efficiently, but it is likely something that many people can do efficiently. Whereas it's a kind of work that pays well or provides deep satisfaction. So it's not. Oh, so therefore, it is not the kind of work that pays well and provides deep satisfaction. Your zone of excellence. This is where things get tricky. In this zone, you are doing work at which you are very skilled, Often it is work that you have trained for, as well as something that you have practiced and established over time. This is also work for which the world praises you and pays you well for. For this reason, zone of excellence work is often hard to give up. And I feel like what this is that's well, let me read the zone of genius and then I'll get back to my point. Um, the zone of genius is a zone you are doing work in which you have a natural ability. These are the innate skills rather than the learned skills. When you are doing this kind of work, you get into the flow state and do not struggle to create. You can produce distinguished and unique results that are unlike what anyone else is doing. When you are operating in your zone of genius, there is little to no competition for your work. So I've kind of define the zone of excellence versus the zone of genius as um, work versus passion. I mean, it's work in both of them, but it's that area of passion that, like they say, if you do something you love, you'll never work another day in your life. I think that's where the zone of genius comes in because you're so passionate about whatever you're doing that is just a natural flow and you're able to create, like she said, kind of create this excellence out of that zone. She said the zone of genius is what will produce millions for you. It's important to take the deep leap from the zone of excellence or competence into the zone of genius in order to experience the kind of success you can't currently imagine. Working in your zone of genius is all about taking your natural gifts and maximizing them. For example, if you are a great public speaker, take the course. Take a course in public speaking and become a better public speaker. So I believe just whatever that you identify your zone of genius, amplify that. Get to the point where you hone in on whatever that is, and then amplify that in whatever way is possible, whether it's additional courses or whatever that is. So, and then the next step is discover your zone of genius. And she was talking about wait a minute, discover your zone of genius by following the call. If you listen closely, there are projects, dreams, and big ideas that have called you for years. If you look back at your history, you'll find clues in your childhood where you were drawn to similar work that is calling you now. That nagging desire might not reveal exactly what your zone of genius is at first, but if you take the very first tiny step, it will begin to reveal itself. And the fourth thing she says, take an assessment. I actually did this. The one that she suggested, she goes into Clifton Strengths. And I'll go over a little bit and show you what it looks like actually. Um, Clifton Strengths. So I'll go over the first page. So the Clifton Strengths is a unique, basically profile. Is 37. I got the one that was $49.99, I believe it was, and it breaks down 34 of your profile sets. And well, let's go from this. So this is what the first page looks like of mine. Here you can see it. So my first one, and I'm going to go over it because it was actually pretty what I mean, I thought more should be in, and they say that you might think it should be a little bit different. But once you read it and go through it a little bit more, you'll see that, oh, that kind of does fit me. But actually, mine's fit me off rip. I did think there should be not necessarily different, but adding ones into my top ones. I don't know. I guess it's contradicting. But so Relator, that was my first one. Relator, it says how you can thrive. So you enjoy close relationships with others. You find deep satisfaction in working hard with friends to achieve goals. Pretty good. I can work on myself though. It says why your relator is unique. These personalized strengths insights are specific to the Clifton strength results. It's very likely that you offer guidance to friends who seek your assistance. Very true. While you enjoy being helpful, you you probably avoid imposing your ideas on someone unless the person might makes a special point for asking you to do so. Very true. I usually do not solicit and well give unsolicited advice. Driving your Driven by your talents, you are comfortable sharing your viewpoints with individuals who ask you to do so. Their requests are proof that they like and trust you. You are less inclined, however, to make inquiries about others, people's judgment, and or conclusion. Very true. You probably avoid doing anything that could drive a wedge between you and your friends, acquaintances, family members, co-workers, teammates, and classmates. Because of your strengths, you have the ability to instruct, train, and offer suggestions to people who look to you for assistance. I think that's very true. Um, by nature, you enjoy being busy, especially when you can assist someone in need. That's true. You are likely to be a good partner at home, in the workplace, at school, or in the community. You tend to do more as expected than as expected of you. Why? You probably worry about wasting time. This explains your habits of volunteering or for projects or asking for extra duties. Instinctively, you are someone to whom others turn for an honest perspective about projects, persons, events, or ideas. They trust you. They trust you will share your viewpoint. I believe this is true. Not going to go over in detail with the rest of them, but the rest of them. So, number one was relator. Number two was context. Number three was achiever. Number four, uh, intellection. Number five, responsibility. So, those were my top five for the Clifton Strengths results. So, okay, after taking the assessment, she said action steps after taking these assessments. Take a few talent and skill assessments to get a better understanding of how you work best. Clifton Strengths is a great one. I also recommend Colby and DISC. Each test is slightly different way of assessing your skills and talent taken together. The results will provide clues and insight into your genius in your work. Again, people, if you want to come on and talk with me, the first comment in the chat, you can come on StreamYard Live. So she has objection. To recap, the big question is what can you offer that's extremely valuable? We just walked through four different ways to start figuring that out. She said, I can already hear your objections brewing. Here are some things you might be thinking. Well, Rachel, I'm not an amazing, accomplished boss bee. I don't have any skills. I don't have expertise. I don't have a college degree. I'm impressed, blah, 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 college degree or an impressive skill of accolades. I flip burgers at McDonald's. And honestly, I usually show up late and do sell have a job, and I don't bring much value to the table. Other people are super valuable, but I'm not. Okay, Burger Boo, here's my response. She was like, I want to sum it up because I'm not going to read all that. Sometimes you have people that don't think that they think they're lazy, they think they don't bring any value to the table, but it's actually they just might not be at the right position in the right job. You can shift that person to another position and get them into, once they figure out, that's why these assessments are good, figure out your strengths, switch them to another position, or if they get another position that capitalize off of their strengths, they won't be that person that other people see them as now. If you just hate, I remember retail when I was in college, and I guess in high school too. I worked at a few retail places, and when I say I hate retail, I hate retail. I hate it. Like, it just makes my stomach hurt doing retail. But as the personality I am, I'm a hard worker and I actually love working. I just hated retail. I just did not like the experience of working retail. So put me in a different experience, job where I am doing what I'm strong at, which is usually training, analyzing, consulting, advising, something on that. Even managing that, I don't mind managing. I excel at that. When I growing up, when I say I hated retail, I hated retail. So usually people that are complaining and feel like they're lazy and they don't want to do a job, they're not doing the right job. Usually, you got some of those out there that are a little different, but we ain't gonna get into that. So going back to the book, she gets into bad work ethics, kind of the same thing. Not, like I said, not that people don't have bad work ethics, but usually when you shift into something you want to do, usually people are not delivering because it's something they don't want to do. And everybody ain't that type to work a job they want to do until they get better. They're just going to burn out. And that's what we've been taught most of the time, just working until you can do better. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have something. You can't have people paying for you all your life, but work on finding what is best for you. And I feel like your work ethic would change, your personality change, all that would change when it comes to that job situation. Okay, she said, okay, what now? By now, maybe you've identified 10 different ways that you could offer value to a marketplace. You're multi-talented. There are numerous things that you can do. So now what? Just pick something and commit. That's right now. It's like you got all these talents, you narrowed down that you good at this is your personality type. Find something that aligns with that and commit until you see results. Some people give up too easily. Commit until you see results. If you start something, like I said, is aligned with everything you would want, aligned with the skill set that you have, aligned with your personality trait, commit to that until you see results. So the summary of this chapter, it says, you are more accomplished than you think. You probably have a nasty case of imposter syndrome, and this is costing you greatly. You are not lazy. You are probably really freaking tired. And she gets into that. When people say you're tired, you might not be tired. You just might, lazy, you just might be tired. You get mentally drained at a job, and especially if you work in overtime at a job you don't want to do, and then you have to work overtime. Child, you tired mentally and physically and spiritually and everything else, and probably financially because it's probably not paying the bills like it needs to. But yeah, so Going back, sorry, I got off a little bit. So you're probably not lazy. You're probably really freaking tired, and there's a difference. Um, you need to spend time. You need to spend some time thinking about the question: what could I offer to the world that is extremely valuable? This is the $1,000,000 question. The answer might be staring you right in the face. It might be something you already do in your current career, and you just need to start charging a whole lot more. It could be something you do just for fun on your spare time that you could start charging for. It could be something that comes naturally to you. So I got this book way over there for no reason, being special. Um, it could be something that comes naturally to you. So naturally, you'll never even recognize that it is valuable gift. Once you identify what makes you valuable, believe it, own it, and charge accordingly. Your life will change forever, and you should probably double your rates. Right now, that's one thing I skipped past a little bit. She was talking about um, she had a friend. She was doing, I can't remember, contract something. I'm not going to go back. And she had a friend look at her website, and the friend was like, "That's everything looks amazing, but you're charging too low for this." And she said, almost like she got offended that her friend told her she was charging too low for this particular service. Um, and she actually doubled her price or tripled her price. I can't remember. I think it was doubled her price. And she ended up she took the original prices that she had off her website, doubled the price, and she actually got somebody that was inquiring about her services like the next day or whatever. She had initial meeting with them, and it went well. She told him the new rate, and she said basically she was nervous about it. And he was like okay, I'll take two of that, whatever that was. And she was like, there is, like I said, going back, there's always somebody that's going to pay for what you feel like you're worth. Just because somebody else doesn't think you're worth it, there's a whole market that does think you're worth it. So don't lower your standards according to people that can't afford you anyway. There you go. Hold on for a second. We're going to go to the next chapter. $1,000,000 pricing. So when you go low, we go high. She said, Michelle Obama. That was her quote. And actually, I got ahead of myself. This was the story. I think this was the story. Yeah, she was talking about, let me go back. Her trademark, how she did, prices, blah, 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 blah. We went over there. Let me go back. So she said on May 23rd, 2011, at 2:14 p.m., a friend and fellow lawyer sent me a DM on Twitter that changed my life. She said, "Love the services, but your prices are way too low, especially for trademark, way too low." I did not agree with her, and to be honest, I thought she should mind her own business. My reply was, "Thanks for the feedback, Lori. You know, I know lawyers who charge even less for some of those services. Okay, something to think about. Thanks." That's what she replied back. Unbothered, Lori said, "Of course, you can always be underpriced. If you compete on price, you lose. Too much work for too little pay. Trust me on this." this one. That's what she replied back. She said, after this message, I changed the subject of the conversation because I was uncomfortable and annoyed. What did she know? Turns out a whole blood clot lot, she says. She said, the friend I'm referring to is Lori Daniel Favors. She's an amazing lawyer and social justice activist. At the time, she was running a solo law practice focusing on bankruptcy and also running a nonprofit organization that provided education and empowerment for Black communities. I'm going to skip down. She said, I should have asked her the smart follow-up question like, how much would you charge for trademark registration services, Lori? And I think that's another thing. Some of us, if you feel like people are stepping on your toes, if they are actually trying to be helpful and trying to make you go in a better direction, it's okay to, lend an open ear, like, to what people are saying. You got the other ones that we're not even going to talk about. But if somebody is genuinely evaluating your services, your products, and say, you can up these prices, you might want to consider that. Just a suggestion. And she goes on to say, she tells a story about, like I was saying before, the first client after she upped her prices. And she went on to say, Lori was right. I was grateful, and she was willing to, that she was willing to tell me what I didn't want to hear. In case you think raising your prices is only for women working in entrepreneur or freelancing, think again. As a salary employee, you can raise your prices too. And I'm not going to read this whole story, but she goes into when she hired one of her old clients and she was wanted to hire him for a position in her job because she knew how skilled this lady was. She was extremely skilled. She wanted the lady, but the lady came in and basically just had everything laid out that she was basically almost worth double what she was telling her she was willing to offer. And end up settling at somewhere over 6 figures. She doesn't get into exactly what that is, and some extra vacation time. But she initially just wanted to, give her this. Well, it was a double. It was 75,000 for this job, and the woman was like, She knew her worth, and I think a lot of us just take things and not basically run your resume, run your skill set, run what you've been doing. And if we don't do that, we're leaving money on the table. She goes on to say, my program director, which is the lady she was talking about, my program director doubled her price during salary negotiation and wound up with a salary significantly higher than the initial offer. To harken back to the story I just told, say you're a copywriter or a graphic designer, brand strategist, attorney, dog behavior specialist, or whatever you do, and you're doing hourly based pricing, you charge $100 an hour. A client wants to hire you for a particular project, and you estimate the project will be 10 hours, so you charge $1,000. I'm not going to get into all of this either, but she was saying hourly versus value-based charging. You need to realize sometimes it's not about how long you do it, it's about the value you bring. And she gave an example of somebody that she knew that somebody asked her to do some emails for these email marketing, and she only charged them $1,000. That whatever she did for them ended up giving them a worth over 300,000. So think about that. They only paid $1,000 and got 300,000 in revenue. So she could have charged even up to 30,000, for what she did because it gave them so much more value. Hey, Marilyn, if you want to join, you know how to join. It's at the top of the comments. But yeah, so actually, let me read that story because it actually was kind of good. So let me see where that is, or if I pass that up. Okay, so recap. This company paid her $1,000 to provide written services that directly helped them earn $300,000, which means the work she did was worth a whole lot more than $1,000. She could have easily charged 3,000, 5,000, even 10,000 for the exact same project. Even at 10,000, it still would have been a excellent investment for that client. To rub salt in the wounds, that very same week, this copywriter was chatting with a fellow writer who offers similar services and has around the same experience level, and learned that this other writer has a minimum of $10,000 starting point for any project. So we always minimize our worth, and we need to start doing better with that. And goes back to like I was saying earlier about the gentleman that was in Atlanta when he was, like I said, his prices probably went up since then. It's like this was over 10, 15 years ago. Just for him to take pictures for a day was $1,500, period, point blank. If you could not pay that, you can't get his services. And that was period. And he's, like I said, he's stuck on that, and he does multiple, movie screenshots, headshots for celebrities because he knew his worth. And like I said, no telling on what he's charging now. So value-based pricing works for employees too. And so the value of, like what we're saying, her charging the 1,000 worth, her charging, she could have charged up to 30,000 just for the same product. Just because you do an hourly rate for certain other things, when you have a whole project, you need to consider the value that you're giving that person instead of just considering the hourly rate. So how to raise your prices? I am thrilled that you are ready to raise your prices. The process is really simple. Take your current price, whatever whether it's your hourly rate, your current flat rates, the cost of your product or your salary, multiply it by 2, and there you have your new price. That's right, boo. It's time to double your rates. Yes, I'm serious. So she gets on to immediately doubling your rates because like 99.9% of the time, women are probably undervaluing what they're doing. So immediately double your rates. The next time someone emails you to inquire about your service, let them know the new price and let them know the new price and see what happens. If you are an employee, do the math on how your role is delivering on the desired outcomes of your organization, and then negotiate a higher pay or set up a side hustle using your natural talents to earn double what you currently make. Another option is to start looking for a role where you are getting paid significantly more. So even in your regular job, either renegotiate your salary, or you can just start looking for another job that you can double your salary, because you can come to the table and explain how you're going to value how you being on this team, or you being in this organization, or you being in this department, in this company, is going to be an asset to them. And if, $150,000 ain't nothing to a company if you're saving the millions. Whether it's, like I said, anything that has it's project related. You got your budget and you got, time and budget. Are you good at, getting things done before the initial goal of that project? Are you able to, run a team that is efficient enough to you can cut, out different other, um, costs and expenses for that organization? Write it all down. I think about like the position I'm in now and the operations that I ran. All the operations that I personally ran with the team always finished under budget and before time. So that's something that I need to write down. And when it comes to getting another position, that's something that is in my little pocket of what I can deliver as an employee. But we're trying to get this money, so we're trying to get these businesses. So that's still something I can keep in my pocket, even for my own business. Okay. Says when you double your prices, everyone wins. When you double your earning, women, when you're earning double, you can afford to hire help around the house, cleaning, groceries, delivery, pet care, a personal assistant to run errands, a pool boy to feed your chilled to feed you chilled grapes and fan you with coconut fond, or all the above. This means more peace, more joy, more free time. Free time you can spend reading stories to your children or enjoying a sexy night out with your partner. Your family wins. You can afford to hire a paid intern, assist in other hire a paid intern, assistant, and other team members to support you at work. Boom. You've become a job creator. You're providing income to another household and changing someone's life. Your employees win, and so does your employees' family. You can offer to invest in a material or physical in the material physical health at your higher level. Uh, Peloton bike, yoga membership, therapy, high quality organic foods for yourself and your family, and more energy and vitality to do wonderful things in the world. Everybody wins. You can treat your clients to a VIP experience, send them snazzy gifts in the mail, and bring your absolute best self to every meeting and project instead of showing up to Zoom room uh, begrudged, burnt out, and exhausted. You show up refreshed and breaming with genius ideas. Your client wins. They're getting the best version of you and they pay more. You can become a philanthropist and write massive checks. You can do other exciting things with your money to like invest in local small businesses to help it grow. Buy a house for your mom, upgrade a car to a new car with all the latest safety features, or start a college tuition fund that's so fat even your grandkids can get excited, excellent education, and graduate debt free. A whole community, your whole community wins. You can become a role model and inspiration to fellow women and girls. A teenage girl finds out you're earning $1 million per year and thinks, for real? Maybe that's possible for me too. Another life transformed because of your wealth. You are helping to change outdated perceptions and reestablish what women's work is worth in our society. Women win, girls win because of you. Bottom line, When women earn more, all society benefits immensely. The research proves it. I've seen it and felt it. I'm sure you have too. Instead of just admiring women who are earning millions and change the world, become one. Next topic says, take out the mind trash. Whenever I start talking about raising my rates, doubling your pricing and negotiating to double your salary as an employee, women freak out. um, she said one objection would be, but I can't raise my price to XYZ because nobody in the industry charges that much. That's just not how it's done. Oh, nobody in your industry charges that much? Good. That means you're going to stand out. Do you want to bargain? Do you want to be the bargain bin service provider to the to the creme de la creme or the creme de la creme? Let me read that over. Do you want to be the bargain bin service provider or the creme de la creme? Do you know about you? I don't know about you, but I want to be Tiffany's, not Bingo, Bob, Big Discount, Jim, Emporium. Charge top dollar and offer high-end services and high-end results to match. So at this point, you just need to know your worth. I think that's what it boils down to with this. If you know your worth, you don't mind increasing your prices and standing by that, but also deliver those results that customer wants. If you know and usually that will come with the passion that you have for what you do, because you're going to give your top notch if you're passionate about it. You're going to give your all when you're passionate about it. So you shouldn't mind charging top rate for what you do if you're going to give your all. That's your energy, that's your time, that's your everything. So don't be that person that's always discounting who they are and what they do. Consider if someone hires me and we work together, what is the highest possible outcome? What is the best that could happen? Price accordingly to the highest possible outcome. And a thriving marriage, a peaceful relationship with good food, a joyful yoga experience, in a glorious house, not the lowest possible outcome. Look at your track record, gather the receipts, ask yourself, based on what I've observed from my last 10 clients, employers, projects, and so on, what is the highest possible outcome? What is the big, exciting result that is not just possible, but highly possible, highly likely to happen? Whatever it is, that's what should determine your pricing. So breaking that down. So whatever you do, what is the highest possible outcome of that? If you cook or make cookies or you consult, what is the highest? But if you're consulting and that person, your client that comes to you is having issues with, getting their consulting practice up or fixing their marriage or whatever, if that person's marriage thrives after you if you're a marriage consultant and after you go through your counseling services and they ended up having this amazing marriage and they're on one accord and they're speaking each other's love languages and, they're in bliss after that, what is the pricing for that outcome of that experience? That's how you should price it. If this person was on the brink of divorce and then now they're thriving and they Google-eyed at each other and they're in their second honeymoon phase and everything's going good, what is the price of that? So price accordingly. she goes into a lot of back and forth as far as what you think about, or the negative that you think about yourself, or your price according to what you're thinking or what somebody else is thinking. Will they pay for this? And she was talking about people usually do comparison pricing. They go out there, you are whatever cookie maker, you go out there and see how many people that are bakers that just make cookies, and what they charge for this. But if you have a niche, and I guess that's what all this is about, you are your own, you know, particular market. There's a particular market that you're catering to. Um, Even if somebody charges $1 per cookie and you get 12 for a dozen, whatever. If you want to charge 24, if you want to charge 50, there is a market for anything. Whatever you do, whether it's dog meditation or bird sign language, whatever it sounds crazy, there is a market for it. I've seen it, we have all seen it, and people are getting paid for the most random things because there is a market for it. So don't discount yourself. Going on. She gets into like, oh, we always want to change the world, but we always talk about it, and you might march, you might speak about it, you want things to change, you might even vote about it, whatever the situation is. But a lot of things cannot change until money is backed by it, or is backed by money. And she gets into it. She said, look, I'm not saying you cannot change the world if you're broke. Sure, you can. You can change the world with a smile. You can change the world with a song. You can change the world with a sign and a protest. I've watched my friends do it, and it's beautiful. But you can also change the world on a entirely different scale. Restore a devastated city, build an entire school, cure a disease, give thousands a chance for a better life if you got lots of money to fund the good work that you want to do. She said, Will Smith said, money and success don't change people. They merely amplify what is already there. Beyonce was always, she talks about Beyonce earlier in here. She said, Beyonce has always been a goddess of generosity. Being wealthy simply enables Bae to be even more generous. It amplifies the goodness that's already within her, and money will do the same for you. Truly believe that money and power are amplifiers. Whoever you are, money don't change. You hear people say the money changed them. No, they were just like that. They were just broke like that, and they couldn't say it loudly. I say it's an amplifier because it'll have you doing things that is loud. It's just loud. So if you were that rotten person just didn't show up. If you got $1 million today and you started acting the fool, that fool was already in you. You weren't confident enough for that fool to fully manifest in other people's presence. But that fool was always there, loud, proud inside of you. But that fool was there. It just is able to be openly vocal about the foolishness when you got more money and power behind it. So making money and making the world a better place are not mutually exclusive. You don't have to choose. You can have it all. I feel like with that's a message that a lot of women don't hear, that we have to choose. You can't have it all. You have to choose, especially when women start creating families. And that's not necessarily true. Excuse me. That's not necessarily true, especially when you learn how to allocate out. You learn how to value yourself and get paid your worth, so you can, delegate and pay people to do the work that you don't want to do, because you're allotting yourself more time when you're delegating tasks and being able to, pay for an assistant or pay for a nanny or pay for whatever. And that's what we're going to get into the next chapter. But let me finish up this. She talked about giving more. She was saying that women, this is what women do when they make bank. They make the world a better place. Research shows women's economic participation and their ownership of financial assets speeds up development, helps overcome poverty, reduces inequalities, and improves children's nutrition, health, and school attendance. And the working women invest 90% of their income back into their families, communities, compared to only the 35% for men. So the same amount of money, women will invest 90% of their income back into their families and in their environment, while men only spend 35% statistically. Crazy. And that's why the non-governmental organizations whose purpose typically addresses the social and political issues want to rebuild communities ravaged by war or natural disasters. One of the first things they do is invest in women in the community in the form of micro loans and other economic aids. Give women economic assistance and they will change the world. Remember that, ladies. You are powerful, more powerful than you think you are. However, I want to be clear. I don't want you to become wealthy just so that you can give every single penny away and wind up financially and emotionally bankrupt. Because I know some of y'all reading this and probably thinking something along those lines. Stop. She goes on to say, you are already giving more than enough. So when you're making money, not that you're going to give anyway. That's what we do. We're natural givers and natural builders of the community. We're natural builders in the home. That's just what we do. But when you start making your money, make it for yourself as well. I want you to make a list of 25 ways that you already give back, just so you can know that you already give enough, basically. In a typical month, what kind of support, financial, emotional? I'm going to skip past that. So in summary of this chapter, it says, due to imposter syndrome and systemic racism and misogyny, you are likely way undercharging for your labor. You can and should raise your prices significantly, whether you are an entrepreneur or an employee. Use value-based pricing rather than hourly or comparison pricing to determine the true value of your work. Double your prices to get your wages to a reasonable value. Do not let limited beliefs prevent you from doubling your prices. Studies show that when women earn more, the world improves. Women contribute economically to our greater society at higher rates than men. You can have a much larger impact on the world when you are earning more. You are generous enough. Stop giving away your time, effort, and labor and start building real wealth. Okay, so now we're at chapter 9 of the $1 Million Team. Alone we can do so little. Together we can do so much. This is all where we need to be right now. And that's why I was excited actually to go, like I said, to the South by Southwest event yesterday. And actually just on that day, we met, I went with a friend of mine, Miss Marilyn, that was on here earlier. I don't know if she's still on. I went with a friend of mine, and we were talking to people that, I mean, just it was a good vibe because people were just coming up and just, what do you do and what are you about? And this is what I do. And just in those conversations, we're able to connect with a few ladies that we're going to have meetings with later on this week. So just being able to create a team. This is what we need to be doing. I'm talking about a team more so in business. And where she starts off talking about a team is being able to allocate. I guess this whole chapter is being able to allocate appropriately, or um, being able to delegate. That's the word I'm looking for. Delegate tasks that you don't want to do. And she was basically saying she starts off with a personal assistant and gets those small things done that she just doesn't want to do herself. She writes out like a typical hierarchy of, she has a friend that was a house manager or estate manager for high end or high net worth individuals. And how it typically works is, typically at the top of the hierarchy is an estate manager if there are multiple homes, or a house manager if there is one home, who's in charge of everything. There are not unlike a general manager of a luxury hotel, and their pay can be anywhere between 100,000 to 300,000 annually. Additionally, specific staff members, including private chefs, which are between 70,000 200,000 a year, housekeeping 65,000 to 100,000, one for every 4,000 square feet. Nannies are 65,000 to 185,000, butlers 85,000 to 125,000, drivers 80,000 to 100,000, and personal assistants 65,000 to 150,000, and housework staff of household staff of this size is easily 500,000 per year. And this is the celebrity level, but she was breaking it down how you can do stuff at the level that you have now. So she said you can and should have a household staff supporting you. Let's talk about why, and most importantly, how you can make this happen ASAP. Excuse me. She said my husband and I had done a good job until that point of outsourcing household help. We used a laundry drop-off service, had a personal assistant to run errands, plan birthday parties, and handle returns and shipments. We had a cleaning service come in every Friday, and we used regular babysitters so we could have date nights. And we thought we were nailing it, but after our youngest was born, we officially reached capacity. So these things can, as you see, can be outsourced, if not like a staff like celebrities have. There are services that you can have. So she goes on to say, and once you find out how, so say that I see a lot of parents, especially new parents or parents with multiple children, that the laundry gets stacked up. And mom is tired, dad is probably working tired, everybody tired in the household. And if somebody just can come in and do laundry, people, I don't know, we just don't think about that. It's just not something we think of, like, well, we're going to let somebody come in. I shouldn't say we don't think about that. Not that it's not a thought, but that's not a normal thought, especially in a Black household. That is just not the normal thoughts coming up. That's not what we've been raised. Okay, got all these clothes, let's hire somebody. We just didn't do that. Might be becoming more common now, and I believe it should be, especially for those that have, a lot on their plate. So if that's your case, You need to figure out how much that costs. And you might be surprised what you find and how you can fit that in your budget. And that's what she's saying. If you need a regular babysitter, if you need somebody to come cook for you 2 to 3 times a week, first, before you say you can't do it, do your due diligence and look up and see what you can do and see what that price is. Put it on your budget and see how you can make that happen, whether it's hooking up a few more hours, whether it's doing what you need to do. But what she is saying, when you open yourself up and allow somebody else to do that work so you're not so burnt out, you can be more productive. So she said, the solution for me has never been to make as much money as I could, no matter what it takes. Rather, I have always been interested in finding creative ways to increase my income without increasing my work hours. Can money buy happiness? Turns out it can. And I thought this was a good point of how she points this out. So it says, in a recent study led by researchers from Harvard, concluded that if you want to be happier, spend your money on buying time. The study looked at 6,500 households from 4 countries: the United States, Canada, Denmark, and the Netherlands, and found that time famine is a real drag on well-being. The solution to time scarcity is buying back your time by hiring help. Working adults in the country study reported greater happiness after spending money on a time-saving purchase rather than a material purchase. The household study spanned lower to upper middle class and found that people benefited from buying time regardless of where they fell on the income spectrum. In conclusion, you know the classic question, can money buy happiness? Well, the Harvard study research proves if you're using your money to buy domestic help and clear chores off your plate, aka buying back your time, then yes, money does buy happiness. So if hiring help is the key to happiness, why aren't more of us doing it? And that's what we just got to understand. Sometimes it's just not a knowing that we need, well, not that we need to, because I think we know the need, but I don't think we put the need to the source. I feel like, again, I can only speak for being around the Black community, that it was, you did everything yourself. You cleaning, you cooking, you're taking care of the kids, you're working, you're doing all of that. It is that superwoman complex. And I don't think we need to do that anymore. And we shouldn't. Not that we're not superwoman. We can do all things, but why do I need to prove myself that I can do it when I can take that time and open up time for me to be refreshed, open up time for me to make more money and to provide for my family on a higher level and provide for the community on a higher level. So if I have to allocate or, delegate task and pay for, someone to come in and to lighten the load on whatever that is that I see and deem necessary, why not? The idea of a Protestant work ethic that emphasized hard work, discipline, fragility may be at play. From my working class parents, I learned that work was always hard and money making was always hard. Women are more miserable than ever, and being time starved is the culprit. Women's life satisfaction has gone down in recent years, and I believe is due to second shift. She explains, she put it in quotes. Second shift is what she explains in chapter 4, where women can work their 9 to 5 and come home and take care of home. So you're literally working another job on top of doing your job that makes you money. And that job in itself could be, if it was a house manager and you put that, you pay somebody to do that. That job alone could be $100,000 job. So they're working the second shift. Our society does a good job of making women feel obligated to not only work a full-time job, but also complete all or most domestic work themselves when they get home. Committing to hiring help and letting go of the of the obligation to do everything yourself will liberate you, make you happier, and incidentally increase your income. She talks about her team. So her household team derives of a nanny, a cleaning person, um, a chef and a house manager, and a personal assistant. Your first hire. Um, she talks about, what am I talking about? Ready to start building your entourage. If not, get ready, my friend. You cannot build this empire alone. You need lots of support and a wide array of talents. As I always tell my team, we are stronger together. But there is one little problem. You're not a millionaire yet. Good news, that's not a problem at all. You absolutely do not have to be a millionaire to start outsourcing tasks and hiring support. You do not have to start with hiring 12 full-time staff members. You can begin with one part-time person, and I promise it will change your life. When I began to work with a client, one of my first things is to have a client to do is to hire a personal assistant for 5 hours per week at $20 an hour. I think that's a good idea. That's something we all need to start thinking about. I think that's our assignment. So she gives assistants. This information about hiring assistant. She gives an example ad that you can place for this person, and that should be one of the first people you hire. Once you hire a personal assistant, what else she says? Um, what kinds of tasks can you delegate? And she goes into just about anything that you don't like doing, anything you dread, unpleasant, boring, tedious tasks that you just don't want to do. I'm sure you can think of a few. Anything that drains your energy. So basically anything. Write down these things that you just absolutely don't like doing. If you don't like doing the dishes, you don't like, Googling stuff to figure out where you're going to take the next vacation, you have them do that. If you don't like doing laundry or folding laundry, maybe you like doing laundry, you don't like folding it, have the person do that. But if you just maybe, like she did, start off with 5 hours a week, have them come in and do whatever is taking a load off of your schedule. And that's where you should start. If you even washing your car or having gone to get your car washed, replying to emails, do grocery shopping, whatever that is. Delegation for future millionaires. Learning to delegate is an essential step toward becoming a millionaire. As of 2018, 76% of small business owners in the United States employ only the founder, that is me. They are solopreneurs. That means that the survival of these companies depend entirely on the owner. They're doing the marketing, the selling, the delivering, the financial planning, the business model. Solopreneurs burn out. They have a person. If solopreneurs burn out, have a personal emergency or even just get distracted with things like life, their company revenue will suffer. Suffer it does. Those approximately 25 million companies that are run by a solopreneur with no employees generate only 4% of the total small business income in the United States. Yes, my friends, 4%. The other 96% of the U.S. small business revenue comes from 24% of small businesses owners who have employees. So again, we can't do this on our own. We have to really get a team together. If you're not delegating, you aren't leading. You must be a leader in order to build wealth. You have to go from doing to leading. First, outsource household tasks. So she was like, that's if you're going to, that should be the first thing that you think about doing is outsourcing household tasks. These are the domestic items that take a lot of time, like cleaning, laundry, transporting kids, running errands, cooking, and so on. Once you have your household running smoothly and feeling supported, the next step is to outsource administrative tasks. Delegating things like scheduling emails, paperwork, bill paying and invoice sending, filing and organizing, and travel arrangements to go along with freeing up your time. And it says, if you work at a company and you don't have an assistant, ask for one. You can use the evidence that you are losing 30% of your production to administrative work, and the evidence that is great, that a great assistant will provide a win-win scenario for everybody involved in the argument, as your argument. This is where the delegation meets the dollar, because the next thing you delegate is your income generating task. If you are an interior designer with a household help, administrative assistant, and the next role you need is another interior designer to begin taking the income generating duties off your plate. This is how you expand your capacity and serve more clients and make more money without being an exhausted, burnt out solopreneur. Two interior designers can serve more clients than one. Once you are delegating on this level, you may be wondering, what what the hell do I do if I have to hire all these other people to do my job? Great question. What you are going to do is lead. You will lead your company, you will manage your team, you will make the deals, and you will dream up more ways to make money and make impact. And there lies the entire point of delegation: freedom. This gives you freedom. The sooner you start, the sooner your liberation will arrive. And she talks about things that are even at a smaller level. If you can't get a personal assistant, you can outsource through TaskRabbit. If you can't, get somebody to, get your come and cook for you, do HelloFresh or whatever. And I think one of the things that I do, and I try to get myself away from it, so I can just go out, but I do order my groceries a lot. So that time in itself. It takes less time for me to, sit down, order my groceries, for me to go to the store and me browsing around the store, dealing with people. I have to drive there. I have to go in. I have to get the groceries. I have to get them in the car. All that is a lot more tedious than me just order groceries, go pick them up, come in and put them in the pantry or the refrigerator. So she goes on and says, drop the shame and step into the life you want. Normalize delegating. So get on it, ladies. That's what I'm saying. Delegating is a skill you can learn. It might not come naturally at first, but you can master this skill and become a delegating ninja. At the end of this, she gives, if you have a partner, how you guys can talk about getting more help in the house, so it can be, a partnership effort. She gives you a script and some things about that. And she talks about in delegating, you're providing, money for somebody else's. Girl, go on and get yours. I see that water. I can get on. Are you trying to get online? I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out what you're saying. Just if you're trying to get online, tap the link in the comment section where it says StreamYard, the first comment. Go to the very first comment. It says StreamYard.com /CX8KCE2PG7. So again, she was talking about a rising tide lifts all boats, basically meaning when you're paying, other people and you're delegating, you're putting money in other people's pockets so they can have money for themselves, have money for their family, support their household. That's what you're trying to do. Create your own, economy. Do you see the link or no? Let me get it again, and I'm going to put it down. Okay. So the last comment that came up should be the link. I'm about to wrap this up in a minute, though. So it says, you need to hire an assistant and then you will start making big money. The end. Again, with this chapter, earning more can have a lot of positive. Okay. Earning more can have a lot of positive effects on your life, but it can have negative effects on your time. If you want to be happier, spend your money on buying your time back. Your first hire should be a personal assistant. You can who can help you handle the variety of tasks, even if you can only afford 5 hours per week for a PA. You will find that it has a profound impact on your ability to generate income. Most women feel they can't afford or don't deserve to hire help. Blame the Protestant work ethic we have all been taught. All right, I'm going to put you on for one moment. All right. Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hey. So I'm just going over. Let me get some of your feedback. What do you think so far? That was the finishing up chapter 9. What were some of the things that caught your attention?
So this oh, hold on, I'm getting another. Wait a minute. Can you still hear me okay? So this book really resonates with me. Mm-hmm. As I told you, Smile, in some of our talks, that this is a much needed book in the Black community, with us Black women. And speaking as a single mom, Um, and a lot of this hits home, especially not seeing your value, not seeing your worth. Um, Wherever that comes from, it can come from your past and past relationships and things like that. And you got to learn to see your worth and speak to that.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
and the other thing is that hiring some help.
Mm.
Again, speaking as a single mom, Lord have mercy, you have been a witness to how much I have worked my tail off, come home, have to clean the house, cook for the kids, and cook for that. If I would have just if we as Black women, sometimes single women, we try to go overboard and we try to buy our kids things because we're not there as much
Mm.
on the front end and because we're working. But if
Right.
we would just take that money that we're doing, spend, with useless stuff that the kids are just going to throw away anyway,
Right.
if we would take that and buy back our time,
Mm-hmm.
pay somebody to come in and clean the house or do the laundry or cook so you can spend that time with your family.
Mm-hmm.
That, let me tell you, that right there is
Let me
it's
ask you
simple.
this. So I believe especially every single mom knows they need help.
Yes.
Is it a cognizant thought that I can get help by buying it or by delegating it? Is that actually a cognizant thought? Like they know it, they know they need it, but do you think about especially in our age brackets? And I'm in my 40s, you're in your 50, or you just turned 50.
Hey,
I don't know in that age bracket, was that even a conversation in the middle
no.
class community?
No, it was not. I can tell you for facts, and you have to forgive me because we got dinner going on at the same time I'm talking to you. So if you hear the kids in the background, I'm sorry. So I could tell you for facts that was not. And actually, and as silly as it is, sometimes it's like frowned upon. Oh, you can afford that? Or you're doing this, you're a single mom, you can't do that. You know how many times I have been told, you're a single mom, you can't afford that. You're a single mom, you can't do that. You need to figure out how to do A, B, and C.
Oh wow.
And that did hit me, especially from the places it was coming from. It was coming from people that should have had my back, and I trusted 100%. And so I'm thinking, well, dang, I'm wrong for wanting to
Mm,
hire, because I've always wanted to hire somebody to clean the house. Talking about stuff I hate to do. I can't stand cleaning baseboards or wiping a window. I don't want to do that.
right, right,
And it
right.
was always tell the kids to do it. Well, if you got your kids, who are in sports or
Mhm.
they're trying to do their own thing. I mean, teenagers themselves, yes, they have to learn. Don't get me wrong, they have to learn. And you do teach them and guide them. But again, just knowing how, I mean, I would sometimes put in, 60 to 70 hours a week at sometimes when
Right,
I was working. And then I would turn around and come home and try to buy the kids whatever they wanted. All these systems, why did I do that?
right. You
Why did I do that?
would
It's,
say,
it's a broke mentality, as she said, living in a broke mentality, things that don't need to be done. I did, and learning to forgive yourself for that, move on, and make those steps. You made the comment of where could we be if we thought a certain way. I
right.
could tell you what, I know where I would be. You know what I mean? There's not even a question. I could think about it. I don't have to write it down. I can tell you for a fact that if I would have made that extra time for myself, I
Mhm.
wouldn't have had to work 70 hours a week. I
Right,
wouldn't have had to work, I would have put that time in, got more education and
right,
went forward.
right, right.
So,
That's good, but it reminds me. I mean, not remind. Well, it is. It's kind of bringing up because we hear a lot breaking generational curses. What you said is like it usually come in a lot of that negativeness, especially dealing with single parents or parents just in general. They act like your life stops when you have a kid, um, and you're not supposed to do this, and you got to take care of everything. Hey, crazy! Then you got to take care of everything, but your life does not have to stop that.
right, and right. And that's where they make you think that. I mean, again, where it was coming from makes you think, well, you have no business, trying to go back to school. You have no business trying to do this. You have no business trying to do that. You got kids. You're a single mom, and that's what you need to focus on. So again, me, at some point, I lost myself to being just a single mom.
Right.
I wasn't me. I wasn't Wanaki Green. I was Wanaki Green, Christian Issa's and Zay's mom.
Yeah.
That's who I was. And, losing who I was in the process, that was just detrimental.
Right.
So when these kids are now grown and these people are really suffering through empty nest syndrome and not knowing what to do with their life, that's because you lost yourself. You let your kids own your life, and you do not, oh my gosh, do not do that. Because if I would have balanced things better, and if I would have taken different advice, and if I would have just listened, what I was saying about your squat listening, I've had my doctor friends and all that tell me, go back to school, do this, do that. And I always said, I can't. I'm a single mom. How am I supposed to make that happen? Excuses. Excuses.
Right. But again, it goes back, and like I said, we hear more often now, break the generation. Growing up in a Christian environment, you hear break generational curses, but it's really not practical in the sense of what we see and what needs to be done. They go so deep with it, where just that alone is allowing you to break a chain of an impoverished mindset.
Right. Correct.
And get yourself more into valuing you. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't know what it, like I said, I feel like we can speak as the same family in the sense that we have strong women, especially on.
Yes.
So it's like these strong women did everything. So if you hire somebody, it's like, oh, like you
feel like that great auntie gonna come and knock you out. What you doing hiring somebody?
Right. It's like a detaching from what they think is strength and what you're supposed to be doing. Like, we don't need to be the superwoman and she.
No,
we really don't. So we, especially when you're trying to think of generational wealth.
Exactly. And that's not something I think, and truly honest, we have a very strong women in our family, but because of the generational curses and the way that we were taught, and that is just brought on through generation to generation, we were not taught to generate generational wealth. That's not something we were ever taught to do. We were not taught to leave this for the next generation so they can leave it for the next generation and the next.
I would say, so people don't have to, hold on for one second. So people don't have to start over. I was like, each generation should not have to be starting from scratch.
No, they should not. Never. We should not. And,
my eyes are burning real quick.
Oh, it's okay. Y'all share this information. This is really, really needed information.
All right. So, Waddik, if you're going to get back on, I'll let you give a few minutes. If not, we're going to end this in just a moment.
Your niece, I had to send her on her way.
Oh, goodness. But yeah, I feel like even with generational curses, as they say, you have to get down to the root of the issue.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
And a lot of that, it just could be truly knowing and valuing yourself, because a lot of problems that stem out of self-worth can look so different to different people.
Yes.
Whether it's poverty, whether it's depression, whether it's overeating, whether it's, promiscuity, what it can look, that face of not owning and valuing yourself could be different on different people.
Yes, it can.
Once you value yourself and really do that, and know who you are, and you're coming at a place of genuineness to yourself, I think you can go forward in a better way.
I agree with that. And as you know, you and I have had conversations. Me turning 50 was a big milestone for me.
Mm-hmm.
I decided, because I have lost myself in my family so much so that I no longer knew who I was, is reinventing myself and redefining who I am. And
Right.
it's been a journey. It's been a beautiful journey, but it's been a journey that I am enjoying
Awesome.
to the fullest.
Mm-hmm.
And I am looking forward to what the next step is going to be. And that's why this book came and hit home so much, because it was listening like, well, yeah, that makes sense. And why did I have to do that? And Rachel, if you would have brought this book out 20 years ago, oh boy, I don't know who I would
Right.
I mean, I can say that, just her words, and it's simple. Everything she's saying is simple. Everything she's saying should be common sense, but it is not.
Not.
It is not whatsoever.
I mean, we say this, the phrase "common sense is not common," and it sounds more derogatory, but it's not. And in some cases, it is, but in other cases, it is. It's not common if you don't know.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
You don't know. You don't know what you don't know, or you don't know.
Correct.
You don't know what to ask. That's why I see it in this sense. It's like common sense is not common if you were not raised in that, if
Right.
that was not something that you were privy to, if
Right.
that education that you got, that common sense is not common to you. It's just like I said, in the same sense as you don't know what to ask if you don't know. You don't know.
That's true. That's very true.
I feel like this is just a very pivotal, and it's like a catalyst moment in a lot of people's. Well, for me, I only can speak for myself. In certain areas, I feel like I was better in certain areas than others, but this is a real catalyst moment on how to go forward in my business and what are next steps for myself, and even for my household. So I'm excited. I really am excited about next steps. This year is going to be a good year. I feel like it's going to be a good year.
It's going to be a blessed year. I mean, it's going to be amazing. Taking the steps that we need to do to keep moving forward. Like I said, I'm excited. You get ready to see Wannakie 2.0. You ain't going to know what to do with her.
All right.
I'm like, leave that bad be.
It ain't nothing wrong with it at all. I'm excited for you.
Thank you, sis. Thank you.
You got any closing thoughts?
There's nothing wrong with it's nothing. You're never too old to start again. You're never too old to say, okay, let me go back and get that education. Let me go back and get my GED or whatever it may be. I mean, I now am going back to get a degree that I should have gotten a long time ago and negated over because I didn't feel like that I could. You're never too old to start again. Never. Never let those words, never let that negative thought come into your head that I just missed it. No, you didn't. There's still time. Always time to reinvent yourself. Always time to move forward in life.
Yes, ma'am. I agree 110%. All right, ladies, this has been good. We have next week chapters 10 and 11. I think there's a closing. I'll probably be on Sunday again. This is my sister that I'm talking to now.
Hello, y'all.
Down here in the great state of Texas, and we might sneak in and do a video chat with y'all about some issues that not necessarily, well, it could be issues, but just a conversation about, because she's 7 years older than me. I'm the baby of 4. And with that dynamic and how the dynamic is in the family and how that was between different with each of us, because you can have an older child and a younger child and not necessarily drastic differences, but sometimes they can be in the upbringing and what that each child learned because of the different stages in their parents' life at that time, where the older child, it depends on, like I said, just depends. The older child might experience the lack of what their parents had. And then as they got older, they got more settled. So the younger child experienced, a little bit more easy and easy breezy, or it could be opposite. Your parents could have been balling out, and then somebody lost a job or somebody died or something happened and that changed. But that dynamic is not always the same sometimes in families. And what does that look like, and what education maybe somebody else got that another person didn't get because of the age gap? So we might come to you a little bit later this week and give y'all some jewels and just have some conversation. So
Absolutely.
be on the lookout for anything that comes in. I'll post it on the board. But everybody, you have an amazing week. We'll get at you soon and see you later. All right. Bye.